Good morning, everyone. My name is Aman Sharma, and I have with me Deepak Sharma. And we welcome you to our webinar series that we do actually in the continuation of our events, which we do every month. This particular month, we have scheduled two webinars, one which is going to be hosted by Deepak, and the second one which is going to be hosted by me. Deepak, are you around?
Yes, Aman.
Okay. So a little bit about the All India Oracle User Group North India chapter, in case you have been listening us for the first time. We are the largest regional chapter of the All India Oracle Users Group, and All India Oracle Users Group is the body which is actually doing lots of events every year, in terms of conducting various activities regarding the knowledge sharing for the Oracle technologies. So we have got an annual event and an annual event which we do actually in every year in the month of either October or November. And this year we have scheduled it in the month of November 11th and November 12th. We call this event as Sangam, which actually is a Hindi word, and the meaning of that word is basically meeting. So this is basically an annual event that we do, conducting nearly about 100 plus sessions. It goes for 2 days. This year it's going to be happening on November 11th and November 12th in Bangalore Crown Plaza, and very soon we should be uploading the scheduled speaker list with the agenda list as well. So in case you are interested, and we will definitely encourage you to actually come over there, especially if you're in Bangalore. Do not miss the chance, because you possibly will see some very big names in the event coming up, in case you're going to be from database background, someone like Arup Nanda and so on. So we won't be able to tell you like the complete number or name of list of the people right now, but do check sangam16.org, and you should be able to find the entire agenda over there. Since India is a big place, so we don't really have the opportunity to reach to everyone in India. So what we do actually, we have created a bunch of regional chapters which are covering up almost the entire India. The North India chapter was the first regional chapter, and as I said, it's the largest regional chapter because we do not really cover one particular city. We actually cover the entire northern region of India. We have been operational since 3 years, and we have been doing every month, last Saturday of every month, either a particular event, which is going to be an informal event, having a couple of people speaking, just informally. And we also do normally on quarterly basis, sometimes even a little bit sooner than that, celebrity events or special events, which we have conducted almost throughout throughout the North India. And we have started doing this particular webinar series actually for those people who can't really come to our events. So this particular webinar series is actually using Google Plus Hangouts, which means this webinar will be recorded right away and will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So in case you haven't figured it out, or you haven't actually checked our social media events, you do check it out. We are going to be All India Oracle Users Group North India chapter, and with the same name, you can actually find us on the YouTube as well. So with that introduction, I think we should get started with the webinar series. And as I mentioned, Deepak is going to be the host for the first topic for us, which is going to be the newest Enterprise Manager version, which has been released by Oracle, and that is the Enterprise Manager Cloud Control 13C. A brief about Deepak, and I'll actually let him speak about himself. But Deepak is one of the founders of this particular North India chapter group, and he has been actually operational and very actively participating in all the events since last 3 years. And he's also one of the key members in terms of his company Oceanering, in terms of the setup and management of the Enterprise Manager. Deepak, I think we're good to go, and the rest of the introduction, I'll actually, ask you to go ahead for yourself. So, can you share your screen, please?
Sure, Aman. Let me share my screen.
Right.
Okay.
We can see the screen. Yes.
Okay. So let me start. Thanks for the warm welcome, Aman. All right, and a very good morning and a warm welcome to all the viewers who have joined this webinar series. Today, the first session I'm going to talk about is Oracle Enterprise Manager 13C. In case if you are planning to upgrade to 13C, then what are the new features, which can attract you, which were not there in 12C release? So I'll be discussing those. The agenda of the session gonna be introduction to Enterprise Manager. So if we have any new members who have joined this presentation and they don't know about this tool, so I'm gonna give a very brief explanation. Then I'm gonna discuss with the key capabilities of 13C. Then followed by the architecture, what is new there in the architecture of 13C, and what are the requirements in case if you are planning to do a fresh installation or upgrade of your existing environment, then what are the requirements for this new setup, followed by the last topic, which will be the new and enhanced features in this new release. So what is Enterprise Manager? Most of the people, they know it as a monitoring tool, right? So is it just a monitoring tool? No, it is not only a monitoring tool. However, we can do several operation, both administrative and management operations from this as well. You can manage your databases, you can perform the administrative tasks, not only the databases, but on different kind of applications which can be there in Enterprise Manager as targets. What are the key capabilities of this application? It provides a complete management and monitoring of entire IT infrastructure. Now, why I said and complete IT infrastructure, you can not only monitor your applications, you can also monitor your hardwares as well. This is a one single tool which can help you to monitor and manage all of your different targets, which can be your listeners, your WebLogic servers, your Tomcats, or in case besides Oracle databases, if you have third-party databases like SQL Server or MongoDB or PostgreSQL, then you can monitor those as well. And how that is possible? That is possible with the help of plugins. An enterprise manager is a standardize and automate management task. How it does that? Because whatever the target's going to be there, so every single target will be standardized by a common monitoring task. So there won't be a separate, task created for separate databases. So you can standardize your environment. What are the key capabilities of 13C? Some of the new things. The very first is always on monitoring. Now, this is the first time Oracle has given this feature in Enterprise Manager, which is always on monitoring, which means in case your Enterprise Manager itself is down, you can still receive email alerts for the targets which are being monitored. However, in previous release, this was not there. Another important feature is notification blackouts. Usually if we are using Enterprise Manager, what we usually do is during any planned maintenance, we put targets under blackout so that we do not receive notifications from them. However, this new feature will still send you notifications even if those are under blackout. Then comes the stack management, which, as I mentioned earlier, Enterprise Manager is used to manage entire IT infrastructure. So stack management is the unification of both hardware and software. Infrastructure management, your servers, your storage, networks, everything can be monitored in this new release. What's different? The different is for the first time, Oracle has given you the pictorial representation of your servers. So let's say if you install an agent on your supercluster, and there are several components in that. So once the agent is installed, you can actually view the pictorial, the exact picture of that supercluster and what are all the nodes. We'll discuss this thing in more details when I'll come to the special key features. Another is integration ExaCheck. This helps you if you are monitoring your Exadata using the Enterprise Manager, so you can automate your notification and reports if there are going to be any violation against your existing Exadata configuration. Let's see what is the architecture components of Enterprise Manager. Okay, this is a very simple architecture view. As you can see there, the first component is the management agents. Now these are all the hosts which I want to monitor. So in case I have any host, any server, any storage, or let's say any component I want to monitor, the very first thing I have to do is I have to install agents on them. Then in the middle of the screen, I have the OMS server, Oracle Management Service, which is basically responsible. It's actually a web application that is responsible for providing you the GUI of the application. And then in the OMS, you can see there are multiple components like Java Virtual Machine Diagnostic Engine is there, BI Publisher is there, and some plugins. So if you had noticed, we have plugins there on both OMS as well as the management agent, which means if you want anything that to be monitored, you have to install a plugin both on the OMS and the management agent. Then comes the last, not last, but I mean, let's say the database thing. I mean, of course, we know that in order to retrieve information and we have to store information somewhere. So that particular information is stored there in a management repository, which is OMR. Now, OMR does not here means that you need a separate database. If you do not want a separate database for your enterprise manager, you can use any existing database. The only thing during the installation will be done that a separate schema will be created for Oracle Enterprise Manager. But yes, it is recommended that you should use a separate database. And then comes the main console thing, the UI, where you can do all the monitoring operations. I'm just gonna give a single line definition of the components which I have explained you in the last slide. So first is Oracle Management Agent. What it does, it converts your unmanaged host into a managed host. So once the agent is there on your server, you can monitor it. Actually, you can manage it, right? That's why I have mentioned an unmanaged host to a managed host. Agents work in conjunction with the plugins. Yes. In previous releases, till 11G, we had plugins, but only for the third-party applications. But in 12C as well, if you have ever installed agent in Oracle Enterprise Manager 12C, you might have noticed during the installation as well, there are 4 to 5 default plugins which are installed during the installation. Oracle Management Service, it's a web application that is responsible to give you a UI of this application. So it fetches the data from the agents and then it pushes data into the Oracle Management Repository. Then comes the Management Repository. It's a storage location in the database. As I mentioned in the architecture slide, that it's not a separate database. It can be any existing database as well. However, during the installation, a separate schema is created for that. So OMR organizes the data so that it can be retrieved by the OMS and you can have it displayed in the console. At the time of installation, yes, any existing database you can use, as I mentioned, but make sure the version of the database is certified with 13C release. As of now, the only certified version of database is 12.1.0.2. So if you are using any of the older databases, first you have to upgrade your database to the latest release 12.1.0.2. Only thereafter you can do the upgrade or the installation of 13C. Plugins are some extra, components which are required to monitor not only the Oracle products, but the third party as well. And as I mentioned that earlier releases, plugins were available only for the third party, but Since 12C and now in 13C as well, Oracle is giving agents both for the default components as well. So in case, let's say if the plugin is available for 12C release 5, 12.1.0.5, so you do not have to wait for that release to be released out by the Oracle. The plugin can be available in advance as well. Oracle BI Publisher. We already have one default tool, that is Oracle Information Publisher, which is used in Enterprise Manager to create reports, to generate reports. However, if you want to generate some fancy reports with new charts, pie charts, graphs, then Oracle recommends that you should use the BI Publisher tool. So it is one of the primary reporting tools. It has a lot of variety of reports. And yes, from 13C, the BI Publisher is installed and configured by default. However, in the previous release, if I talk about 12C, the BI Publisher was there, it was installed, but you have to configure it later on after the installation. But in the 13C, it will be installed as well as it will be configured during the installation itself. And in case we are going for a multi-node installation of Enterprise Manager, then one BI Publisher should be there for one OMS. It was there in the architecture slide as well. Let me quickly go back. See, here we have multi-OMS environment. So we have one BI Publisher with each OMS. Right, next comes the EMCLI and the EMCTL. These are the two command line utilities. In case you want to perform some administrative operations, like you want to create a user, you want to create a blackout, some jobs, you can use EMCLI, that is the command line utility, to do that operations. And just to perform the start and stop operations of OMS or Oracle Management Agent, then you can use EMCTL. EMCTL start OMS, EMCTL stop OMS, or to check the status, you can use EMCTL status OMS. Okay, this is one of the pictures which I've took, one of the pages. This is not the exact login console, but this is one of the pages of the new Enterprise Manager 13C. So as I mentioned in my fifth slide, I guess, that it gives a pictorial representation. So you can see there is a supercluster installed, and I have agent on that. So it gives me the exact pictorial representation of that supercluster. If you see, then there are some red marks, the things which are highlighted with reds, which means these are the components which are having problem right now. So it makes your life much easier, right? It gives you a pictorial representation. Thereafter, it also highlighted the component which is faulty. So, I mean, this is really a good feature. Let's come to the requirements. If you are planning to install or upgrade your existing environment, what are the things you have to take care of? The very first thing is the releases which are certified. If you are there on 12C, I beg my pardon. I mean, there's one mistake. Instead of 12.1.2, it should be 12.1.3. So from release 3 onwards, if you are on release 3, 4, or 5, the EM13C upgrade is possible. If you are to the older version, still using the older version, then you have to upgrade to any of the existing certified versions first. The minimum database version supported, as I mentioned, is 12.1.0.2. The WebLogic as well is 12.1.0.3. And the minimum Java that is supported is 1.7. But 1.7 was not supported till 12C release. I had some issues where one of my servers was having 1.7 installed and I was not able to monitor it because it was not supported till 12C. And the 12.1 release of BI Publisher is already integrated with the installation setup. So these are the few things which you have to take care of if you're planning to upgrade or install Enterprise Manager 13C. Now comes sizing. There are three different kind of installations you can perform depending upon the environment you have and the targets you want to monitor. So in my present environment, I'm going with the small size installation, which means I can have only 100 agents, less than 100 agents installed on different targets, which means if I come to the target count, then I cannot monitor targets greater than 1,000. OMS machine count is one, so you do not have to do a multi-OMS installation, but sorry, yes, if you want to perform a medium or a large installation, then the installation should be of a multi-OMS type. And accordingly, the CPU cores and memory, all these things you have to take care of. I'll move to the next slide now, which is the main topic of this presentation, the new and the enhanced features. The features which I thought are good, I've installed, I've mentioned those in red color. So I'll make you go through them one by one, and we'll discuss all of them. It's not only the ones which I've highlighted in red, I'm going to discuss that. I'm going to discuss all of them. So let's start one of them. Always on monitoring. Okay, this is the first thing that is introduced in this release 13C, which means, as I mentioned, even if your OMS is down for a maintenance or due to failure, you can still monitor all your targets. How this is possible? You have to install some extra code for that, and what else you need is you need a separate database. So it provides a continuous monitoring even when the EM is down during planned or unplanned downtime. You will be still having the target availability events and the metric alerts. Notifications, of course, they can be sent. You have to configure it. Once you have a always on monitoring configured, then you can also thereafter configure the email notifications. And what is the requirement? As I mentioned, it requires a separate database and some stuff, which means the code. I have to do some configuration. There are a few scripts, few commands that I have to run, and thereafter this I can set up the always on monitoring. Important thing, which is the important while you are using Oracle product, is the licensing. So it do not require any separate license. Golden image agent lifecycle management, which means, let's say I'll take example of a PeopleSoft, right? We deploy agent on different servers. So let's say I have 20 PeopleSoft servers. So what I did, I installed agent on one of the servers. Thereafter, I deploy PeopleSoft plugins as well on them. So I have one of my servers ready. So I can create a gold image of that particular agent, and thereafter I can deploy that image on other 19 servers. So I do not have to perform the separate installation on each server and then again deploy plugins. So the lengthy process is avoided. Let's see what all it includes. Deploying agent using the gold agent images. Then how it is done? I'm going to first create a gold image. Then I'm going to create a version of that. Then you're going to set that particular current version. And later on, that particular agent is ready to be used as a gold image. So its first gold image is created. Then when I have mentioned set a version to current, during that particular part, you select the agent which you want to be used as a gold image. And once all the 4 steps are performed, then your gold image is ready to be used to deploy agent on any of the servers. And of course, you can do the installation on multiple servers at one time. Flexible DB access control, as the term says, flexible database access, right? So we know that the environments we work in, we have different personas. We have developers, we have apps DBA, we have database administrators, and everyone needs a different kind of access to the database. We do not want a developer to be performing or taking a backup or restoring a database, right? It will be mess. So this thing is now resolved in 13C. Till the previous release, 12C, there were only 15 different kind of 15 different kind of permissions which were available to grant it to any of the database administrator, or I should say OEM administrator. So if you create an account in OEM and you have to give that particular administrator permissions over EM, there were only 15 permissions available. But now the Oracle has introduced almost 159 out of box permissions. So this is a huge number, 15 and 159. So integrated privileges, if I have a developer, apps DB or DBA, I can give them separate permissions as per their role. So only the limited features will be available to developer. He won't be able to perform the operations which a DBA can. 13C has introduced 159, as I mentioned, and 12C, there were only 15 privileges. So believe me, this is a very good feature which I found, which makes my job easy to give permissions to and separate roles to the enterprise manager administrators. System broadcast messages. This is a kind of a chat feature, a pop-up message feature, which this new release has introduced. This can be operated. I should mention that only the super administrator in the OEM can perform this operation. A normal administrator cannot perform this operation. So let's say if I have 10 administrator accounts in my OEM and all of a sudden I found, okay, there's a very critical event that pops up and no one is taking care of that. It is pending there from last 15 minutes. So usually I've seen that, people, okay, I'm so sorry for that. People usually avoid the critical alerts or the warning messages. So okay, if you are ignoring me, I have eye on you, and I can make your life difficult. So as a super administrator, what I can do, I can send a pop-up message on their screen. So I have to log in using the sysman user, and I have to mention whatever the pop-up message I want to send them. So here I have used please check pending alerts. So all those enterprise administrators who are currently logged in to Oracle 13C, they will get a pop-up message on the top left, on the top right corner. If you can see a new message for my ID, please check pending critical alerts. So any of the administrator who is currently logged in, he will get this message. Those who are not logged in will not get. As I mentioned, this is just a chat facility that they have introduced in this. Next come the notifications blackout. Notification blackout, what it does, it actually suppresses your notifications. So in case if there is a blackout I have created for maintenance, I still will be able to see the events related to those. In my incident manager, there will be still incident listed. However, notifications will not be sent. Earlier, what happens is, like in 12C, if you create a blackout and put some targets under blackout, you won't receive emails. Besides that, you won't even see the events or the incidents during that blackout period. However, in 13C, if you are creating a notification blackout, you still won't be receiving notifications, but if you go to your incident manager, you can see the events or the incidents generated for your targets. Notification blackouts, again, are of two types. If you want the downtime to be included in your SLA, then you're going to create a non-maintenance notification blackout. And if you want the downtime of the application not to be included in your SLA, then you're going to create a maintenance notification blackout. I have some few screenshots of this feature. I have logged into Enterprise Manager. Then under the Enterprise Monitoring, the navigation is almost same. You go to Enterprise Monitoring, then we have Blackouts. So once you are there on the Blackout home page, you click on Create button. So once you create on create button, you'll get two options. Whether you want to create a simple blackout, which was there in the previous release, or you want to create a notification blackout. So once you select a notification blackout, again, you will be given two options, as I mentioned, the under maintenance and non-maintenance, depending whether you want the SLA to be downtime to be included in SLA or not. So select that particular maintenance window, and again, add targets and the blackout will be created. So this is the new thing in this release. Then comes export and import of incident rules. A very important features which makes my life at least easier, cause in my environment I have a test environment of OEM and the production as well. So I did upgrade on the test environment of Enterprise Manager, and I created the incident rules. I did some updates and I added some new email addresses to which I want notification to be sent. Later on for my production upgrade, what I have to do, I just have to export all those things in a XML. I just have to click on export. All the notification rules which I created, they'll be stored in a form of an XML file, and later on in my production, I can import them. So I don't have to go through all that mess again. It makes my life easier. Let's see some screenshots how you can do that. Here I am on the incident rules homepage. So I have almost more than 50 different incidents, right? So I have assigned some targets, different kind of targets, different kind of categories of the matrices, and some email addresses as well. So here you see, once you select any of the rule, you will get an export button highlighted. So you just have to click on export. It will ask you a location on your local machine where you want the file to be stored. So you can save that file. It will be in the form of XML. And later on, once you perform a production upgrade, you can simply import that particular file, and all the settings which you have done for the incidents rule will be imported. Let's see what's the next feature, multi-proxy support. It's a kind of the very first thing which I mentioned, or always on monitoring, but this feature is used for the management agents. So you can create some proxy agents which will be used for communicating with the OMS in case that particular agent is down. So using those proxies, all of your existing targets on the actual agent servers, they will be monitored. So multi-proxy support is for your Oracle management agents, and always on monitoring is for, I should say, basically is for your OMS. Then comes corrective actions. We have different notifications daily coming up from the enterprise managers, right? Sometimes table space fills up, sometimes the disk space, CPU utilizations. So you can create a corrective action for such operations. In case you have a disk space popping up, you can add a disk space. In case you have a table space issue, you can, once that particular alert is received, you can perform a corrective action on them, and you can add a data file to it. So this 13C has introduced several new operations, corrective actions, which were not there in 12C. Let's say if my agent gets blocked, right? So I can select the 6th from the top, which says block agent. So if I receive an alert which says agent is blocked, I can define a corrective action on that, okay, just to resynchronize the agent, and that alert gonna be resolved automatically. So in such way, you can perform the corrective actions on all of the listed operations in this. Incident compression. Okay, this again a new thing. If I go back to 12C, then in the incident manager window, I used to have all the different incidents which were reported, right? So I may have a similar kind of incidents. Let's say I have 10 different database servers, and on all of those 10 different servers, I know at the same time when I have my backup job scheduled, the CPU goes highs, right? So in 12C, I'll have 10 different kind of notification for 10 different servers. But in this 13C, I'll be having only one kind of incident reported in the incident manager. All the 10 different alerts will be clubbed together. Let's see what all is there on this slide. Events related to the same issue can be combined together. Different criteria on which I can combine. I can combine the events using targets, or depending upon the category of the event, or depending upon the metric. So these are the different criterias. Also, besides these different criterias, as I mentioned, if I know a particular time frame when there is some specific operation going on particular host, so I can mention that particular time frame as well, and during that time frame, whatever the incidents are generated, they can be clubbed together. It reduces the overall volume of the incident, of course, since it's the compression, so it helps you reducing the overall volume of the incidents there in the incident manager. How you can do that? I am there on an incident rules homepage. So what I did, I have created a rule for this. Now, if you see under the action summary, I have some few operations defined, and I have applied this rule only to the targets for availability events. None of the other different kind of events I'll be receiving, this rule going to be applied on that. I'm going to compress only the incidents which will be generated for availability of targets. Let's see how it works. So as I mentioned, I have, let's say, 10 different servers. So I have received a notification for 10 different servers. Remember, you still will be receiving 10 different emails. The topic is incident compression. So it's gonna compress the incidents there in the incident manager. So the middle picture is there of the 12C. The incident manager in 12C still gonna show me the 9 different incidents which are generated. However, in 13C, using this incident compression feature, what I have did, I have combined all the 9 incidents together in one single. So it shows me there are 9 targets which are facing the availability issue. Next is the improved performance per page monitoring and diagnostics. So this way, in this new feature, what we can do, we can generate some reports of some of the pages of this particular application which are performing poorly. So in case I'm receiving some, low response time on some pages, so I can see, I can generate a report on the basis of last 24 hours, and I'll be getting, okay, these were the pages and these are the sequels which were performing poor. I'm sorry, I didn't get the time because there were many features to mention in this slide, and I didn't get time to include the practical or the screenshot for each one of them. But yes, we can explore this, and I can soon publish it in my next slide. Alta Skin Retouch, it's just a UI. The new UI of this 13C is totally refreshed. They have given a new icons. They have given it a more tablet-friendly look. So, as you can see, there are big tabs. However, in previous release, there used to be very small drop downs on the top left corner, and now they have given it on the top right corner with the big tabs. This new graphic, this is the new page in 13C. It is not there in 12C. I'm there on a home page of a database OEM test. So if you click any of your databases, the very first home page you will be able to see is this. If you remember in 12C, if you go to a home page of a database, there used to be a different sections. Some was showing a utilization, some was for incidents, some was for your compliance, and some other for the patch recommendations. So everything was clubbed together on one page. But now what they have done on the left panel, if you see, they have given a different tabs kind of thing. They have segregated different sections. So if you click on load and capacity, then you'll get an entire view of the components which are there in load and capacity. If I click on incident compliance, I'll get a different view. So they have, separate everything and make it more, clarity is more, right? Earlier, everything was messed up. Incident dashboard, this is a new feature that is introduced. We were only having incident manager in all previous release. If I talk about a grid control, or if I talk about 12C cloud control, I was only having incident manager, which was there, and I can see all the different events which occurred and the alerts for them. But now in 13C, they have introduced an incident dashboard, which makes the life of a super administrator, I should say, very easy. It has, again, segregated different aspects. It has, if I have a critical alerts, okay, I can see these are the critical alerts. If I have unacknowledged events, I can see them in a different screen. Everything is very clear in this dashboard. Let's see what all things are included in this. It displays incident in a different dashboard. Some of the highlighted areas, like I'll be having a fatal alerts separately, in unassigned incidents separately, and escalated or non-escalated in a separate screen. Then I have a summary chart of all the incidents which are acknowledged, not acknowledged, critical, warning, fatal, or there will be a summary chart for those. And you have a refresh data icon for the dashboard. I'll show you a screen of the previous release. In Incident Manager, we do not have an auto refresh option. But in the incident, we still do not have in the 13C release. If you gonna go to the Incident Manager, then auto refresh button is still not there. But they have given this for the dashboard. And you can customize the dashboard as per your requirement. If you want some of the components not to be displayed, you can delete them. It is not going to affect other window of other users. Helps in workload distribution. Yes. Okay, let's see. This is the new incident manager of 13C. It's still same as 12C. And you can see on the entire window, there is no auto refresh icon. However, there is a refresh separate icon that is there. I have to click on it and page will be refreshed. Now let me take you to the new dashboard window. This is the new dashboard, how it looks like. See, you have different pie charts and different graphs for different kind of incidents. Some of the unacknowledged, some of acknowledged, which are pending, which are critical, which have not been escalated. Everything is very clear. And here on the top right, you see there's auto refresh drop down. So you can select, it's 15 seconds or 30 seconds, depending upon your need. So this dashboard will be updated automatically. Metric enhancements. Yes, in 13C has introduced almost more than 15. There were few metric enhancements which has been introduced in this new release. The very important thing that is added in 13C is you can use the compute expressions. If you're creating a metric extension for any of the target, till now what you can do, you can use a SQL script, you can use a shell script, or you can directly write a command in that particular window. But in this 13C, you can use compute expressions as well. However, besides that, the major thing is the comparison operator. If, let's say, if in previous release I have a CPU utilization metric, I'll take example of that. there was a greater than symbol, which means I cannot change it. That was fixed. So I have to put, okay, greater than 80 or 90 or whatever. But I cannot change that particular metric operator. Now in 13C, I can change the metric operator as well. If I want, okay, if my CPU utilization is equal to 85%, I can use equal to. Besides that, also you can do the metric enhancements by your specific business hours. In peak hours, if you want a metric to be executed only in the peak hours, you can define the time as well. As I mentioned, it's supposed to compute expressions as well. And ability, when if you are creating a metric extension for a database, then it gives you a special pop-up where it asks you whether you want to create this metric extension for a single instance or a rack instance. I have shown that in my next screenshots. So here you see I am on the OEM test database, and under that I am on metric collection in settings. So I have selected one of the metric, which is archiver hunger alert log status. So here you can see I have now a drop down. Earlier this drop down was not there and I was having a fixed comparison operator greater than, but now I can select it less than, equal to, or whatever, depending upon the availability of the comparison operator. So this was the very first thing. Then, as I mentioned regarding that database only and single instance only. So here you see I'm on metric extension page and I want to create a metric for a target type database instance. So under the select advanced properties, when I click on it, I be given these particular things, whether it is a container database, what is the instance, and if it is a data guard, then is it a primary, standby, logical, or snapshot. So these are the new features yet to be explored in this new release. And as I mentioned, more than 15, so there are exact 25 new target types which are added in 13C. End user service target type, in case you are using a real user RUI in your system, real user enterprise, then you can integrate your RUI with your enterprise manager. So all those applications or services which are being monitored by your RUI, you can use them in enterprise manager as well. I mean, they can be monitored in which form? As an end user service. So you can integrate your RUI with your OEM, and in this way you can monitor all the applications and your services running on RUI in Enterprise Manager. Few of the database management enhancements. So let's see what are the new features which you can use for the databases. Zero data loss. How? This is the first time Oracle has given a concept. The concept was there, but I mean, it is introduced in the Enterprise Manager, the far sync standby database. You know that the far sync standby database, the main purpose of that is to receive the redo and transfer that redo to your the standby, the actual standby, right? So it acts as an intermediator. So you can create now far sync standby database from the OEM itself. 13C introduced the zero data loss. How that is? The concept of far sync standby database is introduced. As I mentioned, it does not have any data files. The only main operation is to receive redo and forward it to the mode destination, which is your actual standbys. 13C supports the creation of a standby database, far sync standby database, and also you can use the advanced compression in order to reduce the transportation, compress the amount of redo that is being transferred. You can use the advanced compression method as well. Database consolidation workbench, again out. a good feature, I should say. As you see, since 12C, this consolidation concept is introduced. So many of the people they have already started using the concept of PDVs and CDVs. However, in my environment, if I'm planning to consolidate my existing databases, I can use the help of database consolidation workbench. If, let's say, if I do not have a consolidation workbench, then there will be several questions running in my mind. There will be several ifs and whys, right? If, let's say, if I supply this much CPU, what would be the performance impact? So the database consolidation workbench reduces all of your efforts and answers all of your ifs and whats. Let's see a few of the features of this. Why we do consolidation first? Okay, there are a few things, like sometimes to reduce cost, sometimes to improve the performance, complexity, improve efficiency, lower the cost, as I mentioned, simplify the maintenance. Of course, I mean, if you have several, let's say 5 to 10 databases consolidated all together, then it will simplify the maintenance of those databases. Then I am having 10 databases on 10 different servers. Of course, and sometimes for the security point of view as well. So how database consolidation workbench helps? It gives you end-to-end solution. If you are planning for a consolidation, then database consolidation workbench is going to help you a lot. This is divided into 3 phases. The first is planning, then we have migration, and then that is the validation. So planning, where you plan, okay, let's say, if I want to move 5 of my databases to this particular server, you have to plan a particular thing. Then migration will involve pushing or doing the consolidation thing. And then validation will be once those things are done, then there will be a validation testing. There will be a SQL load testing. You can do that as well. That, okay, after consolidation, what would be the impact on the performance? So in planning, how planning is done, during the planning phase, enterprise manager, it gathers data of, it can be either your automatic workload repository or the matrices. So you have to specify that this is the time period I want enterprise manager to collect data, and depending upon that data, enterprise manager should do the planning. So let's say I want the data of last 20 days. I want, based on the data of last 20 days, this planning should be done. So enterprise, you can give the time period. Then in the migration, in this phase, the actual consolidation is implemented by migrating database to a new consolidated platform. And then validation, as I mentioned, the SQL performance analyzer, it can be used to actually perform the SQL workload performance, to check your workload performance, how it is performing after the consolidation now. Sorry. There are 3 different kind of consolidations criterias which you can do in 13C. You can either do databases to databases, or you can do databases to servers. Sorry, first is databases to server, then is server to server, and the last is Oracle Public Cloud. Some of the key points: different consolidation types, as I mentioned, database to database, that will be your multi-tenant. Then databases to servers, that is your, either you are migrating to a new server or Exadata, or Oracle Public Cloud consolidation. The minimum supported versions in this database consolidation workbench is 10.2 database. So if you are monitoring any of your 10.2 database, you can perform the consolidation. You can use a consolidation workbench to check all the scenarios. It allows us to create a multiple what if. As I mentioned, it depends upon you. When you are during the planning phase, you can mention that, okay, in you're consolidating your databases, so you want to give okay, 5 CPUs or 100 GB of memory, then whatever the components or whatever the factors or parameters you're gonna define, based on those parameters, database consolidation workbench will perform operations. So it's gonna help you to solve your questions. So it will eliminate your guesswork. Database service target type, again, a very first thing that is introduced in this release. It was not there till now. We have different database services which are running on host. So in 13C, you can monitor that as well. But one thing I want to specify here is this feature is not enabled by default. If you want to enable this feature, and if you want the database service to be monitored, there's one parameter which you have to activate in your oms.properties file. You can manage and monitor Oracle database service. You can either manually add them or auto discovery. But make sure once you have enabled this feature, only the databases which will be discovered later on after you have enabled this, the database service for those will be added automatically. However, if you want to add services for existing targets, then you have to add them manually. Just like other database targets, it gives you information about the resource utilization. Also, you can set some matrices for those. As I mentioned, it is not enabled by default. So this is the property which you have to set in your oms.properties file. So once you have set this property, you can add database service as a target. There are two things. Either you can use the command line or you can use the OEM web console to set the property. I think most of the people who are already using Enterprise Manager are familiar by this thing, that you can also set the property from the console as well. So I set that property, thereafter I run this example. So once I've set that property, these are the 4 database services which were added: OEM test _1, OEM test XDB, some background, sys background, and sys users. So those are visible in the console as well. And if I want to see from the command line, I can see the get targets and the target type. So it will show me all the targets which are running as Oracle DB services. Database machine target upgrade. I have mentioned this feature in the last, because I was not having a Exadata in my company. So in case if you're having a Exadata that is already being monitored as a target in 12C release, then you can use a target upgrade. If you are not let's say comfortable, or if you are not confirmed that your existing 12C Exadata machine can be monitored as a 13C target, then you can still continue to monitor that particular machine as a 12C target. It's not like, okay, you have upgraded to 13C, then your Exadata, it will be monitored as a 13C target. You can still monitor it as a 12C target, and once you are confirmed with that, you can just click a upgrade button and it will be converted into a 13C target. So in 13C, you can still continue using your machine as a 12C target, as I mentioned. And it can be 13C features can be adopted anytime. Just there's a click button and your target will be automatically converted into a 13C target type. Shows a photorealistic view. I've shown you in the console slide as well. This 13C, it shows you a realistic view just like this. So all the components, the faulty components, they will be marked in red. So it will help you to know, okay, which is a component that is having a problem and you have to work on it. So Guys, this was all about the new features, and believe me, these were just few of them. There are a lot more, but of course, I cannot cover each and everything in detail in just a 1 hour presentation. I'll be exploring it more. I am in process of exploring it more, and I'll be pushing the new stuff about 13C on my website. These are some reference guides which I followed. And to know more, these are the few links you can go through. I have my website where usually I publish the issues or the articles related to Enterprise Manager. Then I am there on Twitter as well. You can check my LinkedIn profile. There are posts on my LinkedIn profile as well. And for any queries or for any questions related to Enterprise Manager, you can drop me email anytime. I'll be more happy to answer you. So this was all for today's presentation, and thank you everyone. Thank you once again. Over to you, Aman.
Thanks a lot, Deepak, and I think it was a very informative session. So, could you put some highlight, on the new 12C multi-tenant and how the 13C actually can help for it, Deepak?
I'm sorry, Aman. Can you come again?
I said that we have a new release 12C database version which is already out. So as you mentioned about 13C, so could you put some more light on this thing that in case a company wants to go upgrade to the 12C and they are planning to go towards the multi-tenant, how the 13C Enterprise Manager can help for that?
Yes, Aman. As I mentioned, the database consolidation workbench.
Mm-hmm.
If the people are planning to actually use this consolidation feature, they are going to move to the PDBs or CDBs, then this consolidation workbench can help them a lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, what kind of things a DBA should be actually, aware about when using this particular workbench? Anything which you could recommend from your expertise? Anything which they profoundly should actually look into or be wary about?
Aman, the only thing which I've come across is, I mean, usually it does not even give you anything to be think of. As I mentioned in my slide, there are several questions when we are going for the consolidation thing, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we have different kind of scenarios. So all those scenarios you can select in that consolidation workbench, and based on those scenarios it will give you the output. It will generate a heat map for you. So I can perform different let's say I can change the value every time, and based on that particular value it will generate a new heat map. And finally, when I'm comfortable that okay, after giving this much configuration and now the things look good, then I can go for the consolidation thing. So what I have felt till now is the consolidation workbench almost reduces your all the manual effort.
Okay. And any specific reason or one compelling reason you can actually tell to the people? There are a lot of new features you have discussed about the 13C, but if I have to ask you, one reason that you will actually want to tell to the people, because 13C is still something which is very new, uh,
Yeah,
you know.
I would
So
say, yeah.
because I get this question very often from the people that if in case I have to go for any new thing, what is the most compelling reason actually to go for? So for 13C, can you mention one compelling reason that why DBAs or email administrators should actually think about or plan about going to 13C? Like if someone is already using 12C,
Mhm.
what will be the one compelling reason you would actually say, okay, please for this reason look into the 13C?
Okay, for me, I mean, I mentioned few of the important ones in red, but among from those as well, for the compelling one, which I found was the always on monitoring. I mean,
Okay.
it's really a new thing. My enterprise manager is down, or it's not even available. It's under maintenance, but still, I am able to monitor my entire IT infrastructure, and I am getting notifications for every single thing that is happening. So I
Okay.
found that always on monitoring, and that feature is really good.
Okay. So that is going to be the one thing which you would actually ask people to look into as a major reason to go for the 13C? Yeah.
That would be the first, I should say. First, I would say, yeah, the first feature. I would say, okay, like for first thing, you should look into this because once they have already configured this 13C, and because most of the companies usually use this thing for monitoring purposes. They,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. So yes, if Oracle is giving me 24/7 monitoring, then there is something special about it.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great. All right. I think that should be covering it all, Deepak. So once again, thanks so much for the for a very informative session, and I hope we are going to see many more like this. These sessions actually coming up from you.
Sure, man. Yeah, definitely.
All right then. All right then. So we'll close this particular session, Deepak. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you once again.